Something about you are now broadcasting to the world. Smile and say cheese. Holy shit, I am an hour late. And if I cut out, somebody tell me shit. I need a chat. Oh, I need a chat. Well, how do I get the chat? Oh, I don't know if you guys heard that. I gave somebody with the last name Wasteland a link, and hopefully he will visit here and help me figure out what last name Wasteland.
I heard you.
He will visit here. I hear
Yes.
myself.
Yes. Hello. I heard you. I'm here.
I hear you.
I'm here, Nummy.
I hear you. I stopped hearing me. I'm better now.
So, how was dinner?
Oh my god. I'm going to call and complain.
Where did you go?
I was cheap. I went to Denny's.
Oh.
But well, I went to a Denny's that I've been going to for a very long time, and it is a very good Denny's.
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of surprised.
Well, we walked in, and I can handle, okay, you're a little bit busy waiting in line for about 5 minutes. That's cool. Waiting in line for 5 minutes and watching people not do anything, not as cool. So we get seated, finally, by a guy who looks like he's in charge and just showed up for the evening. And as we're seated, I'm asking, are you guys behind today? Because I don't want to be here all night for dinner. I just wanted to stop and get something to eat quick. He goes, no, it's just busy. We're doing all right, though. So then we waited almost 20 minutes to get our drink order.
Yeah,
I got our drink order, and it was more than 20 more minutes from there. We walked in at 6:17. They took our drink order at
6:45.
6:38. They started taking our order, and then I was complaining. And at 7 o'clock, we still had not seen drinks.
Ryan, thanks for coming. Sora, always a pleasure.
I'm trying to find my back way in here. I better make sure my volume's adjusted while I look for my own chat.
Hi, chat. Volume sounds fine.
No, I mean on the phone, I'm looking for my chat on.
Oh.
All right, so who do we have in here tonight? We have Dark Sasuke. Hello and welcome. Sora. This guy named Data Wasteland. I know he's in here. He's a good guy most of the time. Ryder. Hello, Ryder.
It's been a while, Ryder.
Oh, so other than that, my wife ordered a refill, and we got my daughter a water. And I ordered a refill on my pancakes because I got the all-you-can-eat pancakes and a dish with some eggs and bacon and hash browns. And I finished the pancakes, and they asked if I wanted more and took our cups for an order of drinks. And then the guy disappeared and never came back.
Yeah, to be honest, I would have probably gotten up at the drinks.
I was about to leave, but I was with my wife and kids.
You're with the family, and it's such a schlep to get all the kids back in the car.
Even my kids were going, we don't have drinks. We've been sitting here a while. Should we just leave?
Yeah, you know, I gotta say, do you have any like mom and pop restaurants around your place?
There's a couple, but they're not like they used to be. Then they're disappearing quick. Like every time you go, oh, that place was good, you go in there and they're under new ownership and it's not that great. And I don't have a Waffle House near me, and I know the Waffle House is shit, but they're fucking delicious.
Well, they're quick too.
I want a Waffle House, and I want it smothered and covered and chunky and diced and whatever the fuck else is on the menu.
You have an IHOP near you?
Yeah, they're okay. I didn't really want to go out that far.
Oh, it was pretty far.
No, it just holiday traffic, and it's in a really congested area for it.
Right, right.
And I don't really want to deal with that. So we went to somewhere, honestly, we went to somewhere that was on the way home that we knew was within a few minutes. So that, okay, if we get in there at like 10 or quarter after, maybe we'll get out by 7 and I can just rush home and be a few minutes late. I was pissed at 7 o'clock.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, definitely. I mean, it's one thing to like keep you waiting at the door, and it's another thing to keep you waiting for your drinks. But you would
How
think
was the food? Oof.
you would think that they would pick up the pace towards the end to salvage their tip.
Well, hold on. Let me finish the fun part of this dinner adventure that it was. After over an hour at a Denny's. I've never spent over an hour there without just hanging out with a group of friends shooting the shit with coffee.
Welcome, right. Midnight Raven.
Welcome, Raven. Hello. And as for how was the food, I watched, because of where I was sitting, I could see our food sitting up there on the counter ready to be served. And it wasn't a warming counter. It was just a counter. Oh, so when our food was getting finished and going up there, I had watched it all sit and stack, and then I'd watched the next group sit and stack before anybody even realized the food was up there ready to go. So some of what we got was a little bit cool, like the pancakes, which were done pretty quick and not brought to me. They weren't all that hot anymore. Then they brought my wife's, and granted, she was new. I'll give you a little bit of leeway because it's your first day. Okay. You messed up what was on the order. Cool. Sent the order back to get fixed. They traded the food on the plate that was right and added the food that was wrong. So what was right was cold when it came back on one of the dishes.
Yeah, it sounds like a clusterfuck from beginning to end.
Yeah, along with the guy not bringing back more pancakes and an all-you-can-eat pancake. By the time the pancakes were up, I looked at the girl. I go, no, I think we're done. We're ready to get out of here at this point. I'm pissed. It's already like 7, going on 7:30. And like, I'd like the bill.
And you still gave her a tip.
Fuck no, I didn't. I was at 7 o'clock, I was I'm ready to walk out. I let my wife say something because I was trying to be nice. I can be one hell of an asshole when I don't intend to be when I'm angry. And I let my wife say something. She's like, excuse me, our food should be just about ready, and we're wondering where our drinks are. Okay, I was going to say we're leaving, but okay, let's see what happens. No sooner somebody heard that, and out comes this guy with our food.
Which wasn't the waitress
that was serving us. Correct. Right. So this guy checks on us. He comes back one more time to check on us. He takes 2 cups to refill and takes a plate to get me more pancakes and never fucking comes back.
You know, I for years I was a waiter.
I've waited tables once. I'm not going to say I was happy doing it or I ever wanted to do it, but they needed help. I was at a place that had a restaurant attached. They needed help, and I'm one of those people. I don't care. You're paying me to work. I'll work.
No, I was a waiter for years. Matter of fact, it was a family-owned restaurant, and I would give. This was like a in the grand scheme of things, from 1 star to 5 star. This was like a 2.5 star restaurant. I mean, it had it was sit down. It had tablecloths. It had, water pitchers and stuff like that. But it wasn't really, fine dining. But I would do the fine dining experience when it came to service, to the point that friends of the owner would always request me.
Question for you. Now, we've all been in customer service. Now, I know how food service works. Everything costs money. Water is free. You preferably want to get somebody a high markup item that you can make a good gross on. So you always want to make sure you get a customer in the seat and get them a drink, and make sure that they have a drink because that'll make them hungry. They'll want food, but not too much to drink because then they won't eat as much food.
Right.
Okay? Now, How long should a customer be at their table without a drink?
Oh, no, 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 no. The drinks are served when they sit. As a matter of fact, at least water. What I used to do is I would have a pitcher of ice cold water at the ready, and I would slice up lemons. And when they sat down, they would have a glass of water with a slice of lemon on the rim.
5 minutes. That's what Raven says. I happen to
Yeah.
agree. I think 5 minutes is the maximum amount of time you should be at your table without a drink.
Absolute maximum. And then
I say that for multiple reasons. I say that, one, because as a customer, once you have a drink in your hand, you're somewhat satisfied. You've been giving something. If not anything else, if not rolls at that kind of restaurant, if you're at a 2-order only restaurant, you get your drinks, you've been given something that keeps you satisfied. And two, as somebody who runs a business, once you get somebody that's a paying product at their table, now they are obligated to be there for something. All right.
we would have sub rolls, and we would chop them up in at the beginning of the shift for the basket bread on the table. I would even take the sliced sub rolls and stick them in the go around the into the kitchen and around the chef's table, and put the bread in the oven just to warm it up a little bit before throwing it in the basket and putting it on the table.
Now, I'm going to top this all off. I go pay for my bill. I have him correct the wrong item, and I told him, no. I was like, no, you can correct it and ring me up for what I got. I go, I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm not happy, but you can correct and charge me for what I got. He goes, no, I'll just cut this off, and that'll be $2 less than what you ordered to save you a couple bucks. I go, sure, that works. That's fine. I get all done. The girl brings me my refill of pancakes in a to-go dish, and I'm thinking in my head, who the hell eats reheated or to-go pancakes at this point? The fuck is wrong with you? Okay? Because I told her I don't care. I'm not worried. She's like, I'll bring you your pancakes. I'm like, I at this point, I don't want them. And then she brings me out to-go pancakes. I'm looking at them when I get home going, these are dry as fuck cold pancakes. What the fuck is wrong with that place? So, no. I asked the guy in charge who rung me up at the end after all the other customers had left. I go, I got a question. Do you permit employees to sit and play with their cell phones or talk on their cell phones while they're working? He goes, no, why? I go, well, I've seen at least 2 do it. And one of them was the one who never brought back my drinks. He's on the wall behind the little game machine. I think you might want to have a conversation with him. And the other one was cleaning the back room over there. Anytime nobody was looking, she had her phone in her hand. I go, I used to manage a place. I don't tolerate that. And that could be why my service wasn't as good as it could have been.
Yeah, I mean,
I'll give the credit to the new girl. You're new. You're running around like crazy trying to figure out what to do, where to do it, when to do it, and how.
Yes and no. I mean,
how come the other people there weren't backing her up or making sure that things were running smoothly? Instead, they're stopping and playing on their phone. Nobody stopped after 30 minutes at our table. 40 minutes at our table.
Listen, when you're
and
new,
said, have you gotten a drink yet?
Listen, when you're new, first of all, you don't get you kind of like sidle aside the person and kind of see how it's done.
Yeah, when I was there helping, somebody was checking to make sure I had an idea of what I was doing.
And the whole front of the house is supposed to work as a team. Even the bus boys and everything. That's why usually tips are divided among everybody in the front of the house.
I could see the kitchen from where I was sitting, which is how I knew my plates were up and sitting there. And I could tell the cook, she's back there flying back and forth across. She's angry because she's making the meals as they are, but she's got a full, I forget what you call the serving rack. She's got a full serving rack, not the counter between the cook and the counter. Between the cook side and the counter side, there's the serving bar where they put their plate up and then bring it down and add the condiments.
It's called the pass.
The pass.
But yes, I understand what you're saying.
That was packed.
It was a absolute. It sounded like the manager dropped the ball. It sounded like the whole damn restaurant, except for the cooks, dropped the ball there. The whole front of the house dropped the ball. So, shit happens.
Shit happens, but I'm late. I feel worse about being late than I do about getting a shitty dinner. So I'm sorry everybody for that. Now let's.
Sora prefers IHOP instead of Denny's.
I know. I've been to the IHOP once, only because of where it is compared to where I am. It's out of the way.
When I do go to Denny's, I get the moon over my hammy.
I got the unlimited pancakes, which I scoff at right now. I mean, 3 pancakes were good, but I could have probably eaten 5 or 7 if they were brought to me hot and fresh.
Or a Grand Slam.
I like the Grand Slam, but that shit's getting so expensive now. It's $12.
Yeah, I mean, prices.
It used to be like 8 for the Grand Slam.
If you buy like a meal at Wendy's, and let's say you buy an additional sandwich or something, it's $12 too.
Oh yeah, I buy Wendy's because of my job. I end up buying Wendy's a couple times a week. I'll buy the Son of Baconator and the Baconator fries, and it's $10 right there, gone.
Yep.
And I stopped once, and I go, "Can you get?" Or I go, "There's no lettuce or tomato on any of the Premier sandwiches, is there?" Or on what is it? The Baconators. There's no lettuce and tomato on any of the Baconators, regardless of which one you get.
Really?
And they're like, no. And I was like, and there's no bacon on any of the Dave's sandwiches, are there? He goes, no. I go, so I have to choose between lettuce and tomato or bacon or add them on to the other sandwich that I want. He goes, yeah. I was like, okay. So apparently bacon and lettuce and tomato are almost the same price.
To go cheap, and kind of like a nod to like White Castle, the stackers are pretty good. You can get like 2 or 3 stackers.
Yeah, the Dave's single, the Dave's double, and the Dave's triple.
No, the stackers on the value menu, they're like little gut busters. They're like,
yeah, but there's nothing on those.
There's like 3 bites, 2 patties, and you can have them any way you want them. They come with cheese, so. I usually get them with mayo and onion, and I get 2 or 3, and that usually, they're only like $1.50 per.
Can you live on potatoes? Do you have the dollar fries? I'll go in there and order 4 of those and just sit and eat fries.
I kind of like the baked potato there.
Is my chat not keeping up? No, everybody was just like, fuck you, NumbedSkull. You weren't here on time. We're not staying to watch.
No, if there's 5 people.
There's 5 people here. I missed my regular audience. They're all watching other stuff. Like
I did paste your link to a couple Discords, but not to all the ones that I'm in.
I hope it was the right link.
Well, it was this link, this page that we're on.
I don't know what page I'm on.
It's the YouTube page.
Okay, cool. That works.
So, what else?
I'm not on there. I'm on. What else? Oh, yes. I love when your boss looks at you and goes, well, there's work to do. I'm headed home because I'm not feeling well. Can you stay late and have some overtime? Yes, I can. Yes, absolutely will. I will do that. You just tell me when I need to go home because I will soak up that overtime if you offer it. With a big laugh and my hands rubbing together.
Well, that's nice. I mean, are you locking up the place? Do you have a set of keys now?
No, I had a couple of things that needed to be done, and everything takes time.
Right.
And taking stuff apart and putting it together, loading and unloading, setting up and demonstrating and all that stuff. You're looking at a couple hours for one of the deliveries. And then returning to load another one and run and do that as quick as possible. I got almost 3 hours, I think.
Nice.
I'm just sitting there like, yeah. Do you need anything else? I'll stay for another, couple more hours. How long are we open till? What do you need? You want me to do paperwork? I'll do paperwork. You want me to sweep? I'll sweep. I'll vacuum. I'll clean. I'll wipe everything down. No, go ahead, go home. Oh, you sure? I'll do more work. No, go home.
Don't be too eager. You'll start freaking them out.
Like, you got no. I'll get the vacuum cleaner. We'll clean up in here. We'll wipe off the windows.
You'll start feeling creeped out.
I'll dust the registers and we'll clean off the desks and I'll sanitize. I'll do whatever needs to be done. We'll get some work out of here. Overtime, we're talking overtime right now. We're talking like $20 an hour.
Yeah, no, that's definitely sweet, and I know you could use it.
Absolutely could use it. I'm looking forward to that. They look at me on Monday and go, hey, yeah, clock in early. Okay, I'm here a half an hour early every Monday. I'll clock in early, no problem. What do you need done? I'll start here. Do you need me to vacuum? I'll wipe off the windows. I don't know what to do some days. I have no problem cleaning. Oh, welcome to the Acceptable Channel. Goodbye, Sora. Goodbye. Oh, wait. Have a good night, Midnight Raven. Goodbye, Raven. I said bye to the wrong person. Have to go. It's 1:20. Later, Raven.
Later.
What else has been going on? We can always discuss that Rudolph is bigotous and It's Cold Outside is rapist.
Oh, no. Did you hear that? What's his name?
Mueller?
His daughter. Dean Martin's daughter, Dana Martin. She's going to continue singing the song. She came out stridently against what was being said about her father's song.
Oh, the Baby It's Cold Outside?
She said this song is not about rape, and it won the Academy Award, and blah, blah, blah. And
it's not about rape. It's about loving seduction during cold, wintry weather. And spring babies. Always got to have spring babies.
They're complaining. They have no idea what love is. I mean, I assume they think love is texting each other in the dark or something.
Baby, you signed the consent. Yes, yeah. I'm coming in now.
Don't even start because, last year they did the same thing to the same song, and these two SJWs rewrote the song to be less rapey.
Oh, I think I heard it, actually.
It was pitiful.
I don't know if we want to do that. I'm also, as I'm not talking correctly, I'm also monitoring Discord if people want to say hello. We might even let somebody jump on here. We got maybe 36 minutes left. Just Ryan's watching.
So,
and
what about what's her name? Cortez?
Oh,
that tweet?
What's her name? Something Ocasio-Cortez.
Ocasio-Cortez. I mean,
there you go. I like that one.
Actually, the crazy thing is, she isn't that. I know Ranting Monkey likes giving her a lot of shit and calling her an idiot and all this stuff, but to be perfectly frank, she has a point about the DOD and their money issues and how much money has been lost and wasted in that organization, and the amount of money could literally pay for education, pay for medical, could pay for a lot of things in this country. I mean, you realize your property taxes go up because of local schools, but local public schools are a federal mandate. The whole issue with federal as opposed to state is, the federal government can make as many rules as they want, but they tend to they don't fund the mandated rules that they come up with. So, when it comes to gun control, there's already enough rules on the books. Fund the damn rules. Send the money. If you're going to institute a federal a rule across the country, send those states the money to implement the rule. Same with education. If you're going to mandate everybody having to go to public school, well, you better damn pay for it.
There was another thing that, people know, if you don't already, shock and awe, I watch the TYT just once in a while. I look at some of their key articles that aren't too long, and I'll watch it on a smoke break or whatever. One of them was about Ocasio-Cortez being in her training seminars or something, and her and a couple of other Democrats are tweeting out what they're being shown on their, on their days being not inaugurated. What do you call that? Like their training period. Like this is how it works.
Right. They're I forget the name.
Okay. Well, apparently orientation. Apparently, between this and another year that this has been leaked, some of the things that have to happen are there's corporate executives that come in and tell them what they should and shouldn't and can and can't do. There's legal teams from corporations that come in and try to explain things. And then another leak from somewhere, and I'm not sure if this is a recent or an old one, but this is probably an old one that I've heard of before, and it was that they have to spend 4/10 of their day, or almost half of their day in some cases, lobbying for more money on the phone or otherwise.
Like half the day, and they have to do it in this trailer
across the street,
across the street, because they're not allowed to ask for money on the Hill itself, but they can sit across the street in a trailer and do a call list going down the line to, and that's pitiful too. I mean, we need to get money out of politics, and we need with this. The crazy thing is, originally in the 70s and the 60s, money.
Hold on. Hey, Red Feather, welcome. You're not late. I am, but welcome anyways. We still have a half an hour or so to go.
All this money used to go to ads on television, and that's where the bulk of the money, the millions of dollars, went. Frankly, now when you have 600 channels when you have three, C-SPANs, there's no reason why it should cost that much money to get the word out about your campaign.
No, it shouldn't. And, I sat and had a conversation with someone about ideal ways, and then I turned around and went, you know what, though? That is exactly opposite of what I want, because then it's mandating and eliminating open market. And it's so difficult to try and have this conversation about how do you improve on our system when any improvement you make is also a destruction of some way that it works better.
Listen,
you don't foresee it until it happens.
Open and free markets is a myth. There's no such thing. You have the Fed, not the federal government, but a private bank setting interest rates. You have huge conglomerates that will literally, work at a loss to get a competition out of the way, to literally drive another company, an up and coming company, bankrupt. We're
not talking about YouTube, are we?
We're talking about, the free market isn't free. And wherever you saw anything where there were no rules, you're talking about anarchy. I mean, there was an area in China, not China, I think it was on the island off of China, Taiwan. Is it Taiwan? Where what the hell is that? Hong Kong. Hong Kong is on Taiwan. Hong Kong used to be, or Taiwan used to be owned by the British. Okay. And 20 years ago, the British handed it back over to the Chinese. Now, ever since the British owned it, there was a small section of Taiwan that was still under Chinese rule. But since it was in the center of Taiwan, the Chinese government, the Chinese police, the Chinese anything and everything federal when it came to China couldn't really touch it, couldn't really do. So basically, they had a little area that had no rules. So you had dentistry without a license. You had schools that at night turned to strip clubs. You had, anything and everything. You had construction where people would build on top of other buildings, which would build on top of other buildings. And when you finally saw this 10 blocks of 10-story high, it looked like it was built by somebody who was, doing a card. Have you ever built a tower with
card towers? I love that.
Yeah. It literally looked like that because there were no rules. There were no building rules. There were nothing. That's what you have when you have unshackled free market. You have drug dealers on every corner. That's free market.
And I won't say that it's perfect.
Yeah.
You have to hold on. It makes you question, though, the difference between giving power and ability or control over limiting or denying, even in some cases, the ability to do things because of a preference by an entity.
I guess what I'm saying is it isn't a zero-sum game. It isn't all or nothing. I mean, most of the regulations that we have, not all, and I'm sure there are regulations that are no longer valid. There are regulations that came around from years and years and years ago that no longer mean anything. So I'm not saying that there should be all regulations are word of God, but a lot of regulations came around or came about because of situations. Like, I'll give you a perfect example. In New York City, at the turn of the century, there was a sweatshop that had 100 girls sewing clothes, and the doors were chained because they didn't want the girls going out on the fire escape taking breaks. And one day, that place and that building burnt up, and hundreds of people died. And they died because of, doors being chained and whatnot. So what came about? Well, the city stepped in and said, listen, from now on, we're going to have fire regulations. We're going to have inspections. We're going to make sure that you have some type of device that can put out a fire. In new construction, we're going to make sure that there's hoses and water to be able to put a fire out before it gets out of control. And you're not allowed to chain the doors of the fire escape. You're not allowed to board up the windows of the fire escape. So those rules came about. And a century later, we still have those rules and even more about fire. Now, again, I'm not saying that all regulations are good, but I also firmly believe that the lack of all regulations would be bad.
I'm with you. There needs to be a balance.
There has to be a balance.
And I feel that the balance is definitely off right now, because if you want to do something, it takes so much of sometimes seemingly unnecessary things in order to start something anymore. It's like, well, you've got this fee and this fee and this fee and this fee and then this insurance and then a few more fees and some registration costs, and you're good.
Then maybe we should have something like a place where we could take a regulation and take it in front of somebody and say, listen, this regulation may seem like it's fair, But in my instance, in my circumstance, it really doesn't apply.
Here's a better
Like,
one for you.
here's a perfect example. A business in New York has to have a men's and a woman's bathroom if you have more than 3 employees. Or let's say if you have more than or any amount up to 20 employees. So you have a business that has 2 employees. You could take that and say, listen, all I have is 2 employees. Maybe I'll have 3. I really don't need 2 separate standalone bathrooms. And my business is only 1,000 square feet. I couldn't even fit 2 standalone bathrooms in it. And then they'll say, oh, you know what? Okay, we understand. You're probably right. Let's waive this regulation for this particular location.
Yeah, and at the same time, I don't know if how many people realize this. There's no real database right now, but the number of laws and regulations that are created, modified, or updated on a daily basis are so long that it would take you the entire next day to almost read through that day's regulation changes.
Well, you know, there's
no database where you can sit down and go, "Hey, I want to open a sandwich shop. What do I need to do?"
maybe we need to also address overlap. In other words, in the United States, we have townships. Well, first of all, we have housing developments. Then we have townships. Then we have cities. Then we have counties. Then we have states. Then we have federal. So, and each of these have their own government, and each of these have their own regulations.
And you missed like 3 or 4 others that are added in. Some states have villages. Some states have townships.
Right.
Some states have
and understand that none of these are standalone. So, in other words, a township is also within a county. A city is also within a county, which is also within a state. So there's bound to be overlap. So maybe we ought to, right off the bat, eliminate the overlap, and that would help people out.
And if you think about it, I've had to deal with that overlap a few times where you're driving on a county road, but that county road gets what was it? Township? I forget exactly. It gets funding from somewhere else, so they're waiting on the funding to come through for them to get the something to, or I mean, it just seems like it's so many steps for you to fix a small bridge that's starting to get damaged. Why is that? Why is that such a problem? You're willing to shut the road down and you're not willing to figure this out. It's like there's too many steps to go through sometimes.
Well, yeah, and that's also another thing. Infrastructure in the United States has been crumbling for years and years and years and years. I mean,
well, by the time they get approval to fix something, it's really bad.
But most of the money is poured into interstates.
Not just that. Think of how much money gets poured into. All right, I hate to keep saying this, guys. I call it accordion economics. When you think about when the price of something goes up, it exponentially is going to increase the cost of things, because you increase the price of a product, you're increasing the cost of the labor to supply that product. That's further increasing the cost of that product. And that applies to everything. That applies to fuel to transport the product. You need to pay the drivers to transport it. Then when it gets to the stations, you need to pay the attendants to sell it. Then when it gets...
Actually, on that point where you said that applies 100%, I can give you an example where it doesn't apply. At the turn of the century, when oligarchs owned major train basically train lines, and they owned like the Northeast Railroad. So in other words, they literally were across multiple states, and they owned, you know, the Union Pacific, you know, the trains that went literally across the country. There was about 5 people that owned all the trains, and these guys were the elite rich. And they never gave a shit about their employees. So safety was definitely not on their top of the list. And most of their employees, you could tell how long they worked for the company by how many fingers they lost. Because the most dangerous part of being working in a train yard is connecting two cars together. At least in the old days, before they had automatic connectors. In other words, back in the day, they literally had to throw a pin. In other words, run these two heavy cars together and then throw a pin through multiple holes to lock the cars into place. Well, a lot of smart inventors came up with designs to make it safe for the people, and they came up with air brakes, and each car had standalone brakes, and they came up with automatic couplers and all this stuff. But the oligarchs did not want to spend the money to redesign their trains. Eventually, the federal government had to step in and mandate they did it. And you know what happened? All this safety equipment actually made it quicker, easier, and safer for the trains to come together and go out the yard. And in the long run, it ended up not only paying for all the rebuilding and safety equipment, but it actually ended up making them money. Because, you know, when it comes to transport and trains, every minute it's standing still is a loss of funds. So that was my example. There's a situation where regulations cost initially a company money, but in the long run, not only was safety and safe employees, but it actually ended up making the company money.
Okay. And I'm talking about the inflation of how money is going, though, because of some of this stuff.
Yeah, but
that's a fair counter, though. I'll give you that. That's a lot. That's a very fair counter. But let's say
inflation is inflation. I mean, money is that blame.
Maybe I'm speaking the wrong word. I hate it when I do that. There's so many ways to say things that saying things has to be so particular. The value of our money is decreasing. You can buy less for each dollar. It takes more dollars to buy something. And if you look at the way things are going, where people want to make more money per hour, how I want to make more money per hour, but that hourly rate that I want to earn, take that into account for the things that I have to sell. My hourly rate has to be paid for out of the items that I'm selling and out of the work that I'm doing.
Red Feather has an example.
Our road is county owned, but we are supposed to maintain
above that. I sort of have an example. They're forcing us to put city water in here, DC or BC,
because
British company. They got a grant from the government, even though our well water is just fine. So there you go.
Yeah, they're getting quite invasive in some areas with that. I've noticed. I've seen a few areas be mandated to get public water.
You know, Red, actually, that type of stuff is the blame of urban sprawl. From after World War II, our federal government down here spent tons of money trying to put sewer and water out to the areas around big cities. And all that ended up doing was kickstart urban sprawl. And now, I don't know if you realize, I mean, down in the United States, it's like all the cities have basically, if you ever see a midnight picture of a satellite picture of the United States and you see all the street lights, the glows continue on and on and on. It's because all the cities have kind of like merged with the sprawl in between. And you know, the UK actually went the opposite effect. They actually circled their cities and said, okay, from this point outside this line, nothing gets built. And, you know, that's why in London, you could literally walk in the entire city in like 2 or 3 hours. And you could actually walk to a point where you turn a corner and all of a sudden you're in farm fields or farm fields. And all the little satellite towns and whatnot, they also have a circle around them where you can't build outside that circle. Seattle did that just recently. They basically, I mean, even though they're sprawl, they took a line and said, okay, at this point, everything in this line you can build, and everything outside this line, if it was there, that's fine, but no longer new building, new construction. And what ends up happening is the areas that were all like abandoned get rehabbed.
I have one for you. I don't know if you've seen this. This is a random conversation tonight, but we'll go with it. In some areas, and especially where cities like kind of grow and then shrink back down, you'll notice that houses were built and then people left the houses and somebody will buy it up and split the house into like 2 or 3 places and rent them as apartments. Do you see a lot of that?
I do. Matter of fact, in my area, my neighborhood was built in the 50s, so you have these 1-story kind of like ranches, right? Not ranches like horse ranches, but
no, I understand 1-story ranch house, yes,
right. And you know they have a low roof line because of the hurricanes and whatnot, and so there's also in some of the areas much smaller houses, little bungalows. And what's happening is, since property values have gone up and up and up and up, people are tearing down the original house and building these monstrosities that are like just a few feet from the edge of the property and 3 stories high with the garage underneath. So they look so out of place, you know, in areas where all these ranches are around, but they look like these they almost look like commercial buildings when they're not. So what they're trying to do is they're trying to maximize the square footage so they can get a huge loan on the deal and possibly walk away from the property after they cash out. So yeah, there's that.
I've seen a lot of places putting in housing projects, which are like, depending on the area, a building that has 2 to 4 apartments in it, or taking these houses, which again, I live in the Northeast, so some houses are pretty decent size, and you can go through and put a wall through the center of it and here and there, and you know, add yourself a couple of gas lines and some electrical cables and put in apartments in a couple of spots and go, okay, I can rent this for 3 times as much as I could before.
Right.
And people are doing this, and they're doing it. They kind of did it for a while, you can tell, and it's slowed down. But the places that this happened to have become so beat up because the taxes in this area have skyrocketed now that more people were living there. And all of a sudden businesses are leaving. So now it's on the homeowners and the renters who, not the people living in the houses, but the people renting the houses. It's up to the homeowners and the people who rent these places to come up with the tax funds to pay for all this shit that the county's still paying for, but nothing's taken care of because there's no tax money coming in, kind of thing. I'm just watching the area around me fall apart, and these huge billion-dollar projects get done, but then I walk into a house that honestly you can be afraid that it might fall through because it hasn't been checked, maintained, or inspected in at least 30 years.
Yeah. It's the infrastructure.
Yeah, it's just, and there's no way, again, this is a ramble, but there's no way to figure out how to fix that. What do? You lower taxes. Okay, you lower taxes and you have to cut what taxes pay for. Well, what are they going to cut first? They're going to cut they're going to cut the things first that are what you pay for taxes to expect. They're going to cut funding for, in my case, snow plows or road maintenance or upkeep or trash cleanup. They're going to cut the funding of the things that really need to be done, as opposed to cutting the paperwork or the office workers or the salary for people who, are on call.
Yep. I mean, it's like a shrinking market.
So I don't know. And when you look at how people want to make $15 an hour, okay, well, when you go from what is the minimum wage for the United States right now is $7.50. So let's say the minimum wage goes from $7.50, I think, to $15. It's exactly twice what it was. So you're paying 20% on your taxes. So now that 20% is going to maintain steady at about 20%. If this is an across-the-board thing and not an area-specific thing like Seattle, which you haven't seen most of, but you're starting to see the trickle in of, the prices of things are going to also increase the amount that things are. If you're paying $1 for a loaf of bread and your minimum wage just went from $7.50 to $15, the loaf of bread is probably going to average about $2, not too long.
That's the argument for increasing minimum wage. And the other argument for increasing minimum wage is, well, if McDonald's gets sick and tired of paying their employees $15, $20 an hour, they'll just put kiosks up, and they'll just replace the employees that press the buttons at the register and let the customers press the buttons for their sandwich and pay for it right at the kiosk, and let that happen that way.
I've seen it.
And yeah, the kiosks are coming up. But I mean, what's the flip side? I mean, right now, there are no jobs. The only jobs are in the service industry. And, I'm reminded from this one town hall meeting where George Bush was like standing next to this lady, and he was touting the praising her for having 3 jobs. And he was so proud of her. Can you believe it? What a hardworking American. She has 3 jobs. He's so clueless to the fact that she needs 3 jobs to keep a fucking roof over her head, because all 3 jobs are paying her so fucking little that she couldn't survive on 1 job or 2 jobs.
Or better yet, I used to work 3 part-time jobs. You make better money at 3 part-time jobs than you do at a full-time job.
But you understand that, in the 50s...
Granted, it's more hours, but...
In the 50s, a guy like you was able to get enough money from his 1 job to take care of his household. And his wife was able to stay home and take care of the kids. And he was able to have a vacation and have a nice car and have a nice house and pay for a damn mortgage and actually, even at the end of the day, put a little savings in the bank.
And actually make something off of putting that savings.
Now understand that this was back in the day when a Cadillac cost you $3,000, when a house cost you $50,000, when you made $20,000 a year or $15,000 a year, and you were paid handsomely because $1 was worth something.
Yeah.
And that was also back in the day when anybody making over $800,000 paid 80% taxes to the federal government. So in other words, on the first $800,000, they paid nothing. And then any money after that $800,000, they paid 80%. And do you know that on a social scale, when it came to the poor, when it came to the middle class, and when it came to the rich, even with those type of taxes, everybody was going up at the same rate. The rich person was getting richer, but just as fast as the middle class man was being able to put money away, and the poor person was being able to get out of poverty. Everybody was able to climb. That isn't the case anymore. And just so you know, the $800,000 would translate in today's money to $3.5 million.
Which is still nothing.
Well, I don't know. Making $3.5 million in salary, tax-free every year, isn't nothing.
Data. How much is money even worth? I say this with this. I'm sure everybody, especially in the United States, sees this. You can go to the gas station one day and pay $3.01. You can go the next day and pay $2.97. You go into the grocery store one day and buy a candy bar, it's 69 cents. The next day it's 75. The next day it's 75 cents for a candy bar that's 0.06 ounces less, and then 2 months later another 0.2 ounces less.
To be perfectly frank, money isn't worth anything. It's actually debt. It is negative. It isn't positive. We don't have money. We have promissory notes. And the promissory notes are to the banksters. We are all working to put another G5 jet in the hangar of about 12 families of banksters. That's where we are going. All the money our economy is making right now, all new profits, 80% of them are going to the top 0.011% of the economy.
Yep.
So
and it's almost impossible to get in on that now unless you got some cool new idea that no one's ever seen or heard of or discussed or paid for.
And that's no guarantee, because there have been people that come up with cool new ideas, cool new tools, and go to Sears and go, listen, I'm going to go to Craftsman and I'm going to sell them my idea and I've got it patented and everything. And what does Craftsman do? They turn around and go to China and take your designs and change it just a little bit and sell it and cut you fucking out, and you're sitting there holding your dick and they're making money.
Damn global economy pissing me off.
I mean,
but hey, let's not get too deep, because I think with roughly 2 minutes left, we'll call it an hour. And I think we need to wind down with something positive for the night. Do we have anything positive to roll away with after this?
Let's see.
What do I call the chat? I can't even see it.
Let's see what the chat is saying.
The aroma of shit. Something. I forget what this is called. It's called the aroma of something.
Sweet aroma of bullshit.
Sweet aroma of bullshit.
Yeah, and you know why it's sweet? And you know why it smells so sweet? Because we're so damn used to it, and it surrounds us every fucking day.
Actually, I had a reason. I forget what it was, because this was Wednesday's title. I just moved it to today because I passed out. I apologize, everybody. I sat down and went, I'm so excited. I'm going to stream. I'm going to sit here and relax and wait till it's time to stream so that I'm here on time. And then it's like...
Red says, our road is a county road, but we are supposed to maintain it. And then Red also says, inflation is due to the haphazardly printing of unbacked dollars. Yeah, not only the haphazardly printing, but we know now from stories that they just put money, they come up with money just by shoving numbers into a computer.
Let's put it this way. I have a firm belief. Now, don't get me wrong. I may be using the wrong word, but I have a firm belief that someone making $15 an hour to work at McDonald's for minimum wage is not actually making any more than the person who was making $5 an hour at a $5 minimum wage. there is no difference.
20 years ago.
It is the difference becomes the fact that, and I know this is an arguable fact, but the way I see it, the difference is that $15 now and $5 then is comparable by time, but you're spending more of that 15 because the cost of everything is more than it was.
Right, but it isn't really more. It's all the same. In other words, the numbers may look bigger, but since everything costs more, you're still in the same damn boat. But
yeah, it's hard to explain. It's just but the numbers have grown.
But the thing is, without it, then you're making the same money you did 20 years ago, and everything's still going up.
Right.
So you're worse. I mean,
well, not just that, but also add into it. Think about this. Everybody may have had a home phone, but now people have cell phones, and those cell phones have add-ons, and now you have apps and things you can pay for. You have contracts and things you can pay for. We once just had TV. Now we have cable TV, or we have satellite TV, or we have digital TV, or we have this membership and that membership and this monthly plan and that monthly plan. And keep adding everything in.
Here's an argument on the opposite side. You used to have elevator operators, guys that used to stand in the elevator. There were no buttons. There was just a lever, and it would go up and down, and you would walk into an elevator, and you'd say, I'd like floor 3, please. And he would take you up and chit-chat with you and then open the doors and let you out at floor 3. And at some point, they wanted to pay these elevator operators more because they weren't being paid very much. So they mandated, and what happened? They came up with automatic elevators, and they fired all the elevator operators. But you have to understand, though, also that where they were hiring, well, if that's the case, then all these old-fashioned elevators had to be rebuilt. Well, that means they had to hire elevator mechanics. That means they had to hire engineers to design the new elevators. That means that they had to. So, yes, you may have lost in one section of the economy, but you gained in another section of the economy. We're not saying that it isn't. Nothing's perfect. And to do nothing isn't the answer either, because like you just said, you know, if you don't increase the salary of these people, they're actually working for less and less and less. I mean, frankly, it's a goddamn shame that the federal government has to stand in and say to McDonald's, listen, the people that are working for you are doing a better and faster job and making you even 50% more money than they did 10 years ago. The least you could do is pay them a little more.
Yeah.
Okay, but what we have in this economy, we have an oligarchy.
I have a question. Ooh, as I get loud. I have a question. Do you think it's harder work to run an oven and serve a burger now than it was to do it, 30, 40 years ago?
Yes.
Do you really think it's harder work? I honestly would say it's a lot easier.
No, you know what?
Yet they're paid more. It's just what you're spending.
It's harder. It's harder. You know why? Because you have a corporation that says, listen, that burger has to be in that person's hands in 45 seconds. You have to come up with 4,000 burgers a day. You are being timed for every car that comes through the drive-thru.
Yeah, and they do kind of crap at it some days.
Some days they do. I mean, listen, we're all human. But what I'm saying is we are from 30 years ago and 40 years ago to today.
Okay, I will give you. I see what you're saying. I will.
What I'm saying is that the hoops are much higher and harder because you are expected to do more. And understand, like I said before, that productivity for the American worker has gone up like 100% in the past 40 years. yet their pay has actually gone down. So, in other words, these corporations are making double the money off their employees over the past 40 years, and they're paying squat for it. And the reason is you have oligarchical families, you have kids from these that have been born into these billionaire families that are clueless, absolutely clueless. I mean, look at Walmart. Walmart is a goddamn travesty. You know that Walmart executives and Walmart managers were pointing Walmart employees to federal assistance programs?
Oh, yeah.
Do you know that Walmart managers say to their employees, "Oh, it's Thursday, but you've already worked 40 hours, and I expect you to do another 15 hours here, but you can't put it on on the time clock because we're not paying you overtime, so you're working for free."
Yeah. Hey,
okay.
I'd hate to cut this, but here it is, 9:07. I've been given the wife tapping the wrist. It's time, way past time, thanks to dinner.
And one small last thing. You will have a Walmart come into a small town, negotiate with that small town for tax incentives and tax breaks, and build a Walmart. And the second, in other words, they'll offset the taxes by saying, okay, you don't have to pay taxes for the first year. And after that year, they'll close the goddamn Walmart down. It will have basically destroyed all the mom and pop stores in the entire area, and then they'll build another Walmart right across to the next town over and do the same thing again. They have destroyed small town America.
Oh, I will agree. I have seen Walmarts destroy a lot of other places. At the same time, sometimes you need Walmart because it gets so expensive, and
I've never been to a Walmart.
I've been to too many of them. All right, but that'll be it for today's Sunday show. I will attempt not falling asleep for a Wednesday show if I can at all. I tried to go out tonight and stay awake, but that ended up fucking me up too. So we'll see what happens for next time. And
are you going to do anything this week?
What's this week?
In other words, are you going to do another, like a Wednesday show or something?
I'm going to try and do a Wednesday if I don't fall asleep. I'm going to try for 7 o'clock if nothing goes wrong.
Do you want me to remind you?
For the record, my Discord only works for the most part in my house.
Oh, okay. Well, when I saw you, when I saw your name have the little green dot, that's why I was bugging you.
It's weird because it has the little green dot on the app, but when I load it up on a computer, it's yellow. It's idle. Right. So I don't know. Maybe I should just put it to idle or something.
For all day today, it was gray. In other words, you were off. And really? I've seen it gray for the longest time, and then I'll just shoot you a message, and you'll answer me after like a half hour, an hour, whatever, or whenever you get the message.
That's funny you say that because on my app it's green, and on the computer it's yellow. I'm looking at it right now.
Hey, Red Feather, thanks for coming. Sora Luna.
Thank you, Red. Thank you, Sora.
Always a pleasure. I'm not sure who else is here. Lurkers that haven't said anything, thank you for peeping in.
I appreciate anyone watching this back. Not that it's probably boring. We'll see you all later. Maybe Wednesday, definitely Sunday, as long as I don't go get food.
Oh, there's an Egyptian gamer geek. I've never seen him here.
Oh, look. Thumbs up from Egyptian Gamer Geek. Nice to see you there, buddy. He's been here a few times. Quite a few times. But all right, I'm going to click that funny red button that says stop right here. Where is it? No, click there.